Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my weekly review for GOT. Last episode of Season 3, the Season 3 finale, Mhysa. Mhysa. Alright, so as usual, my video reviews do contain spoilers. So for anyone who has not seen all of Season 3 up to this point, up to the finish, you may or may not want to watch this because I will ruin the shit out of it for you. So we pick up, of course, after the events of last week. And how do you pick up after that? I've done 3 videos on how I feel about last week's, the Red Wedding and Robb and Catlyn and Talisa and everything of the sort. It doesn't make sense for me to keep talking about it. So if you want to hear how I feel about it and you haven't seen those videos, feel free to watch those videos. So we pick up after that. Okay, we're still here. At least some of us are still here. Want to hear what happens next, whether or not we regard ourselves as masochists and just want to endure some more sadness and pain as all our favorite characters get killed or tortured or whatever the case may be. Although I don't think anyone's favorite character was really Theon Greyjoy. Well, maybe a few people, but hardly anybody. So we pick up right after the events of the Red Wedding. We see Bolton, and he's all, being an evil bastard as usual. Yes, he ignored my advice to take return. As we find out that he is going to be now Warden of the Worth? Warden of the Worth. Warden of the North, of course. Okay. And then we see Walter Frey, and he's being an evil bastard as usual, drinking his wine, talking shit to himself as if he's this all-powerful Lord of Riverrun and yada, 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 yada. So proud of his recent assassination of basically what remains of the Starks, or at least some of the Starks. We see Bolton walk out, and you can see all the flags of the wolf are on fire, and you have just chaos. Some pretty cool little action bits there. People screaming. One dude getting pulled as his body, I think, is like in half, and his guts are all hanging out. Brutal. Quickly after, we cut over to Arya, and yes, surviving Starks. I know there are more surviving Starks, but they are not powerful at this time. I mean, Arya, she can become a badass assassin, similar type of assassin to Jaqen and Hagar. Yeah, that's all cool and all good stuff, and I look forward to seeing that in a couple seasons and, the late future. But for now, they have no power. So I did like her scene a lot, though, too, in this episode. That was a lot of fun, where she just can't handle the Frey men talking shit, and she just gets out and frickin' shanks that guy right in the back of the neck, and after she drops that. That was pretty clever and pretty exciting scene as you see the Hound come out, and he's just like, him and his big-ass sword, he's dodging guys, and then he's like cutting other guys in half and shit. I love it. Gotta love seeing the Hound just whoop some ass. A lot of fun. Next time, tell me. Good line. I mean, everything between Sandor and Arya is really fun, because they're such like polar opposites of each other. It's kind of funny just to see them banter back and forth. So I really love that scene right there and everything. I mean, you got to feel for Arya in this situation. She was so close and just cursed, man. Absolutely cursed. So there's that. And then we go on to King's Landing. We have some amazing scenes with Tyrion. Joffrey's all like, we see Joffrey, the first thing he is, he's all troll face, all giggles and all. So that was kind of funny to see Joffrey's actor just, kind of play that out. I mean, you never see him that happy. And of course, Tyrion calls him right out on it. And, since there's no immediate enemy in sight, the Lannisters quickly start talking smack to one another. You have an awesome scene between Joffrey and Tyrion arguing, of course, and then Tywin gets involved, and it's like, oh, okay, Daddy's here. Now it's time to cut it all out. Come on, Joffrey, let's go to bed. Cersei, take him off, and I mean, we all know who runs shit. Okay, it's no question. When he talks to Tyrion after, and he says, "Do you really think a crown gives you power?" And there was a lot of really great. Great dialogue here between, all of the Lannisters, really, particularly from Tywin. I just find Charles Dance, everything he says is like so, like proper and badass at the same time. It's just such a weird combination of like high English, like proper, and at the same time just like fearsome. Like everybody's scared shitless of him, except maybe Joffrey. But, you know, I mean, even Joffrey, too, like in the last couple episodes, we saw when Tywin walks up, you know, as Joffrey's asking him about moving the small council meeting, and he's like, we can arrange to have you carried, your grace. You know, everything he says, I'm not even going to try to impersonate Charles Dance. It can't be done. You can't do it properly. It's just he's the only one that can deliver lines like that. So kick ass. I loved all of the lines there with him and everything. You really think a crown gives you power? It's just all kinds of great stuff between the Lannisters in this episode. One of the episodes, I mean, I always enjoy Tyrion. I do enjoy Tywin as well because he's just such, Charles Dance plays him as such a badass character. I mean, you know, also, too, to get to hear a little bit about his psychology as he explains it to Tyrion, that basically he is protecting the family name, and that also, you know, if a few dozen Stark men and, you know, Starks and their side have to die to save 10,000 on the battlefield, it's worth it, even if Tyrion sees it as cheating, which, I mean, assassination, I guess you could, I mean, it's definitely not, you know, addressing your enemy face on. It is kind of like cheating and warfare, I guess you could say. But, you know, whatever. It all is over now, so we can all forget about it and go on with the series. Anyone who still wants to watch, that is. So I still find everything with the Lannisters very interesting and lots of fun. Also, nice to see that some of the other characters are starting to get some more time. Roose Bolton, of course, as I said before. We go back to his bastard. Oh, my God. What a twisted bastard. I mean, as dark as the Red Wedding was and everything like that, to chop off a dude's and send it in a box to his dad. Oh my gosh. And the other part where Reak, is that what he calls him? Reak? Yeah, Reak. Theon is like hanging there and he's eating the sausage or whatever that was. Oh my gosh. Oh, cringe-worthy. Some of the darkest stuff I've ever seen, absolutely. And, you know, if one thing is good about that whole Theon torture storyline and everything like that, I would have to say it would be that, you know, it kind of teaches us, if people didn't already know this, that there are much worse things than death. I mean, a quick death is not nearly as bad as some of the other things they can do, as, you know, Theon just asks to be killed, you know, begs, pleads with the bastard to be killed. So, yeah, he is a bastard and he is a bastard. So that's for sure. So then we get to see Yara again. The Greyjoys, you know, we haven't seen them for a while. When was the last time we saw Yara and Balon Greyjoy? It's been a long time since we've seen them in the series. So that was interesting stuff to finally get to see them again and what's going on with them. Interesting to hear that that old daddy doesn't care, because again, it's not really his son. I mean, it is, but you know, he didn't get to father him and everything. So, and that Yara's going to go in and try to save him. So we'll see what happens with that. Should be lots of fun with that next season. I'm sure that will be something they'll concentrate on fairly heavily, at least for probably the first few episodes, or at least something they can fill some time up with. Because, I mean, these episodes are really long. A lot of people say, I wish we got more episodes of Game of Thrones each season. But you got to keep in mind, the episodes are like 65 minutes, no commercials. That's like 2 or at least like 1.5, because every hour show is actually 40 minutes. So 65 minutes of a show is like, you know, over 1.5. You know, of any other 1 hour drama series or anything like that. So even though we're getting 10 episodes, it's more like 15 or 16 or 17 because of the fact that they're so long, which I do enjoy as well, because there's obviously lots of things happening, lots of different storylines. So it makes sense for them to go ahead and do that full 65 minutes, which I believe last season and the season before they didn't do that. Okay. So there's that. Bran gets some interesting scenes here and runs into Sam, which is pretty fun to see. Sam makes it back to the wall and informs everybody. So Sam serves a huge purpose. Nice to see him actually, you know, come into play and do something useful. Really cool. Well, I mean, really useful this season because he killed the White Walker, first guy to do that we know of. And then he alerted everybody, and now everybody knows about it. So that was really cool, too, as well. And he hasn't broken his oath. So good on him for that. Not like Jon, who barely makes it back to the wall in one piece as Ygritte fires, was it 3 arrows or 4? I want to say 3 and hits everyone on the mark. that was a nice little twist to see her pull it, because you wouldn't think, like, especially when he's all cocky about saying that she won't hurt him and all that, and then she goes ahead and fires him off. That was a nice little twist, and I don't think a lot of people would be expecting to see that, which was very cool as well. But so far as we know, Jon is good. Everything's good with him. You know, he's got lots of time left, I'm sure. Okay, so we go on from there, and Shae and Varys. Interesting side of Varys, in that, as far as we know, Tyrion did not ask him to do that. He did that out of his own care, because he wants to see, he probably doesn't want to see her killed, and he knows that she's endangering Tyrion greatly by what she's doing from everyone around him. So, pretty cool on Lord Varys to do that. I mean, you wouldn't expect him to do stuff like that. It kind of makes you feel like him and Tyrion really have generated a unique respect and true bond, friendship between the two of them. Since they're both kind of oddities, you know, in their own way, it's nice to see them bond in that way, especially when they didn't get along the first time they met at all or anything of the sort. So that's cool. Let's see what else we got. And then we had lots of scenes with Stannis, and Sir Davos lets Gendry go. Lets him go off, almost gets executed, and then is able to argue his fate, and alerts Stannis and Melisandre to the coming of the zombies, who are so freaking slow, it is ridiculous. I mean, if you think about it, it was all the way last season at the finale that they were marching on the wall. You know, when the White Walkers came down, the horse was munching on something, and then the White Walkers like, go, and they're all like marching towards, you know, the dead men are marching towards the wall, and you can see the wall from where they're at. It's not like it's that far, and some of them are on horseback, and they're still not there yet. I mean, it's like, how are they not there yet? It's ridiculous. They must be that slow. So, really slow. So, let's see. Then just to sort of cap it all off as a finale for the season, give us kind of a nice moment at the end. We got Jaime, Brienne. They finally make it home, finally make it back to King's Landing. And it's crazy to see because, I mean, at the beginning of the series, we hated Jaime so much. And now we see him, he's missing a hand, and we actually care that he is back home, and we're kind of happy for him, even though he's got that weird brother-sister incest thing going on. We still are like, yay, he's back to his sister and lover, and that's odd, but I'm happy for him for some reason, which I genuinely am. I mean, it's great. I mean, at first you hate him, and then you grow over time to sympathize with him. And the same with Theon. As much as you hated him before, it's like, did he deserve this? And yeah, you know, as you see the punishment unfolding, you're like, you forgive people really quickly. So that was a nice scene, and very nice to see. And then, of course, at the end, Daenerys and Mhysa, very touching scene with her. You know, as all the slaves are holding her up, means mother, of course. So that was a very nice scene. I really liked that scene. Like, that was like the perfect scene to finish off the season 4, and now the huge break. And then got season 4, of course, starts again next year. So, am I sticking with the series? What do I think? One episode after the Red Wedding, I think I'm starting to heal now. I think I'm starting to, you know, come back to, okay, it's still a great show. I'm not angry anymore. I vented out my frustration and my anger. I would have preferred the show go different ways, but it's not my story. It's Martin's. So, I just got to accept it and be happy with it for what it is and enjoy it, because I do think it is a great show and a great book, very well written and everything. Even if he chose the route that I don't necessarily like, you still got to respect it, because it is an amazing story. And, of course, as a lot of people point out, it's not just about the Starks and the Lannisters. I mean, at the beginning, that was the main theme we started with, or overarching theme, and now we get into other things. You have Stannis, you have Daenerys, and she's finally amassed a huge army, as we got to see. Her dragons, everything like that. So she's obviously a threat. Stannis is still out there with his blood magic and Melisandre and everything. Then you've got Mance north of the Wall. You've got the White Walkers. You've got the Men of the Night's Watch. And you still have what's left of the Lannisters, who most of which we don't hate anymore, except for Joffrey, because he's a trolling evil bastard. And I'm pretty much spent. So I hope you guys enjoyed the reviews this season. I hope you'll stick with me for next season. I didn't troll Game of Thrones too much this season. For this episode, for me, it really came back, and I realized that even though Robb Stark was probably my favorite character in the show at that point, there are still so many different characters that, you know, we can get an appreciation for others, such as Daenerys, beautiful scene at the end and everything she's been through, and a lot of the other characters as well, who at the beginning you probably wouldn't think you really care about that much when she's being, you know, basically married off as a slave, you know, for power and all these different things, different characters and different things that start off in the beginning, you really start to care about in the end. So I'm going to stick with the show. I'm glad I watched this episode because I heavily enjoyed it. Can't wait to see what happens next season. Very excited and see it all play out. It is a fantastic series, and I shouldn't just, you know, just denounce it completely and say it's shit just because my feelings were hurt when Jon was killed, and Catlyn and Talisa, especially with the baby. Baby Eddard. Brutal, man. This show can be brutal sometimes. So in terms of a rating, I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was a great episode. Last week, I did give it, say it was an average episode, and I gave it a 7, and then I pulled it back and said it's, you know, or well, I did, but then I said, feelings aside, it was a 0. Or, I mean, feelings included, it was a 0. Well, I mean, that's just because of how it made me feel as a viewer and what it did. But it doesn't completely ruin the show for me. For a lot of people, I'm sure it did. But I think in time heals most wounds when it comes to fictional characters and stories. So it's not the end of the world. So am I changing my score? Well, I would just say that you know, I was too biased at the time and was feeling it out too much. So I moved that 7 up to, I guess, a 9 because it was very, I got to admit, it was very well done. The music, everything like that, the slicing, the blood, you know, the Talisa as she's getting stabbed in the gut. I can't even talk. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Anyway, okay, so this episode, 8.5 out of 10, Mhysa. That's pretty much all I got to say for this season for Game of Thrones, guys. Anybody have any other topics, discussion topics for Game of Thrones, anything of the sort, please write them in the comments below. And I'll try to do more Game of Thrones videos, even though, you know, the season's over for now, before next season. I'll try. So any suggestions, please PM them to me. Write them in the comments, and I will try to do more Game of Thrones videos, because it is a great series, and I shouldn't hate it just because they kill one character. My bad. Guess I was feeling too much. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought about the season finale, how you like Season 3 compared to the other seasons. Maybe I'll do a Season 3 cumulative review. It was definitely eventful. One thing you can say about Season 3, whether you hated the Red Wedding or you liked it, it was eventful, and lots of things have changed. And going forward, we're going to have a concentration on lots of different new characters, good and bad. So anyway, I think I've talked on for long enough. I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. If you have not subscribed, please do so. This is Trev, and I'm saying peace. They want to play music with us? Let's play. Drums. Drums! Bravos! Get down! What episode? Please comment below if you know, and you will win my respect.